Hey, John Gilroy here. Is digital transformation a checklist item, or is it more of a digital continuum with gradual changes? In the next 30 minutes, you'll find out. Hit the music, Manny.
Welcome to the Federal Tech Podcast, where industry leaders share insights on innovation with a focus on reducing cost and improving security for federal technology. If you like the Federal Tech Podcast, please support us by giving us a rating and review on Apple Podcast.
Welcome to the Federal Tech Podcast, the podcast that connects you to federal technology leaders. My name is John Gilroy, and I will be your moderator. Here in the virtual studio today is Jim Eselgroth. He's the Director of Innovation and Technology at Highlight. And in the tease, I talked about this evolution, revolution, and gradual change and digital transformation. And I want to bring someone who maybe has been there, done it, got the T-shirt, and has some observations on that. So you're up to bat here, Jim. So what is it? Revolution, evolution, or how's this digital transformation? How should it take place?
So thanks, John, and thanks for the intro. I spent a lot of time over the years looking and being on the execution side of digital transformation. And over the past couple of years, it really, as an observation, delivering value in the government and participating in those things from an external perspective, I come to realization that digital transformation, although it's important, it's critical, it's a necessary element in order to pivot from an old technology to something new. It also infers some sort of stoppage, where digital transformation implies that when you go through this process, you're done. Your hands are wiped off. The problem is that technology is continuously changing. People are coming up with new ideas. There's all kinds of things. 15 months ago, nobody knew about large language models. Now everybody is talking about ChatGPT. It is a household name. And so what you end up realizing is that in the digital transformation process, you should be evaluating the people, policy, process, partners, and platforms, so you can better understand the second, third, and fourth order effects of that change, because that's really what we're talking about, is change management. But philosophically, for an organization, the change doesn't really ever stop. Change is constant. And so it's more apt to think about it as more like a digital continuum. That yes, you go through this abrupt change, but you have to keep an eye on all those things, on the people, policy, process, partners, and platforms. Because if you're spending any sort of money, if you're the government, we hope that you're spending and squeezing out every bit of capability out of each taxpayer dollar that's spent. You want the change to stick. But to do that, leaders in the organization need to be comfortable being uncomfortable. As the retired Chief of Staff of the Air Force, General Jumper, used to say, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that goes a long way of thinking about that change process, that when the digital transformation is complete, it's really not. It just moves to a more of a continuum. And then that's where other things like agile methodologies and things like that and techniques and how you're executing those projects, it's a continuous thing. It doesn't end, which is why the old software development life cycles and the waterfall method didn't really work for a lot of the technologies, because we're not literally building a house, which is where, when you think about, what I was taught when it came to building a house, it was a waterfall method. In order for you to build the walls, you need a foundation. In order for you to do the foundation, you need to dig a hole. And so you have one thing leading into the other. But in the technology space, things are always constantly evolving and changing, and people are, with new people entering, new generations entering, and they have their own expectations of what technology should be and new ideas on how to solve old problems. And so therefore, it's more of a continuum than it is a transformation.
Well, this is nice to talk about, but human beings, as they are, first of all, they resist change. And secondly, they like black and white. I mean, when I was looking at you, I was thinking about 10, 15 years ago, I was working with a company. They bought a brand new phone system. And so what happened on Friday night, they took out the old phone system and they had a bunch of people come in and install the new phone system. And Monday morning, we were with a new vendor. And I like that. I'm like, okay, Jim, this weekend, let's go to Zero Trust. And on Monday morning, we'll be fine. I mean, I love that. I mean, don't you? I mean, I really like it a lot. It's convenient, it's easy, checkbox item. Now I can plan my vacation. But it's like, No, it's like, by the way, these phones are going to be changing within 6 weeks, and we don't know how they're going to be changing. And by the way, we may have a mandate they all have to be blue.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
it's just, I think it's a human being. A check. I went to university. I got my degree. Good, good. I took the certificate and I got my good, 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 good. And I got credited with this. Good, good, good. And humans like that. And so I think is it a human problem with perception, or I think that's the technical part may be easy compared to these humans.
Oh, no. Well, that's why when I listed the 5 Ps, people are first because they're the
Yeah,
largest hurdle,
yeah.
right? I got that tidbit from one of my former mentors. And when it comes to people, because ironically or coincidentally, I know a lot of technologists that would love to do what you just described.
Me too.
Let's just monarchy it and just flip the switch and just deal with the aftermath. But the problem is, when I was doing during my master's years and years ago, 10 plus years ago, actually probably about 10 years ago now, I realized that in order for change to be accepted by all, it must start off small.
Mm.
And I came to that realization in my research because humans hate being told what to do. And so the change is really about setting the stage, getting their input. And the really cool thing that I really love about this world, because I didn't originally come into the tech space as a technologist. I came from a different world and just found myself loving technology, but realizing that all technology is a means to an end. And it's very powerful. It can do amazing things for us. But when it comes to the adoption and getting people excited, it's actually getting them involved. The earlier we get people involved in the change process, and that's not that I've gone and I found the thing that I want to go and buy as the ivory tower might do, or the leaders might do. It's what's the problem that we're trying to solve? And who better than the people at the edge? Who better than the tactical execution of the organization to be involved in scoping the problem, to make sure that we understand the problem. And then once we've got the right requirements and we've built and we constructed the right requirements process and annotated those things, then you end up in this bottom-up requirements and top-down direction. But the top-down direction isn't the ivory tower telling you you're going to do it. It's top-down direction in the sense of how can we leverage the economies of scale as the organization gets larger, which the DoD and all these federal agencies are gargantuan in size compared to private companies, a lot of private companies, not all of them are. But as you try to work through that process, your ability to get them early in the process then reduces their fears because the people, we as humans on a molecular level, our bodies are designed to optimally operate. And when we're optimally operating, if my day is, I wake up, I sit down at a desk and I go to sleep at night and I don't do a lot of movement, my body will automatically rewire itself to go, well, this is the new normal. And therefore, I'm going to get used to that new normal. But if I all of a sudden want to go start running and start becoming more active, my body's going to start throwing a fit. It's going to go, hey, I was used to this normal, that status quo that we had. Now I'm going to fight you. My muscles are going to argue. All kinds of body things inside me mentally are going to start fighting that I need to do these things. And why would that be any different for an organizational change? I've gotten used to something. A lot of the technology that we have today, the federal government has recognized the importance of workforce, investing in the workforce to improve their digital and data literacy. Well, that is directly tied to all this change. And that's setting up their ability to heighten their awareness, moving them, say, on that continuum of where you have status quo on one side and you have open to change on the opposite end of the spectrum. And it's moving those people that have gotten used to and comfortable closer to the things that are happening on the right. And as an organization, that starts at the top. That's a leadership problem. It starts at the top that the organizational leadership have to set the tone that they themselves have to demonstrate their ability to lead.
I want to switch gears here and talk about something called an MVP. Now, I know my son would probably say it's the most valuable player in sports. No. We're not talking about sports. MVP, this comes from digital marketing. Now, in the commercial world, if Jim is selling Jim shoes or Jim software, what he's probably going to do is come up with a product not to be completed, to be maybe 60% completed, and test it out there and see what happens. If it's rejected, he'll redo it again, test it out there and test. Then when he gets to a product that people like, then he'll complete it. And so in marketing, it's called a minimal viable product. Now we can apply this to the world of the federal government. Let's say an agency encounters a specific problem. I don't know. Log files going crazy. That's happening now. And so what some companies can do is they can put together MVPs, minimal viable products, and work with an agency and go, well, let's try this thing out. This is the Jimbo tool that works, and move back and forth. And I think that's how innovation has to happen now. It's not going to be John Gilroy mandating this is a tool to use for the next 10 years. It's going to be Jim saying, hey, we got an MVP. Let's try it out. Give me a week and tell me what you think, and then tweak it and alter it from there. But it has to be this constant adaptation, I think. So leading to something called EdgeWorks. Let's talk about EdgeWorks.
Thanks, John. So I've been at my company now since this past summer in 23. And one of the things among many that I was charged to do was to kind of set up an innovation lab for us to be able to do internal research and development or innovative research and development projects, IR&D projects. And to do that, we stood up EdgeWorks. And that's WERX, which is German for works. And so we see our ability to innovate at the edge is the idea. And so to do that, we stood up our it's been up for about 2 months now, 3 months. And we stood up EdgeWorks where we can do and take and build out MVPs. But to get to an MVP, it's really about what's the problem that we're trying to solve. And there are several ways that we are looking at this. We can, see an opportunity with current clients and current opportunities that are out there. We can do it from a demand signal. We're hearing a lot of things from the chatter from the government, from events that they're speaking at, news articles and things of that nature, and any one of those things. And our ability internally is to look at our people and go, hey, you're out there, you're hearing things, or we're seeing things. What's a business problem that we think we can solve, partner with the right vendor or partner, and build out and get to that MVP in about 2 to 4 weeks. And then go back to people that have a problem, that have that specific problem and say, hey, we did this thing. Do you think this is appropriate? What do you want to do? And then we can evolve it from there. Claire, the Fed CIO, when she first came in, she had this amazing phrase that I've been repeating ever since, and it's demos, not memos. And I love the phrase because it's let's get out of presentations and Word documents and static, and let's see it. Let's actually do a demo. Let's actually see this thing in reality, so we can move from vaporware into something that's more tangible and relatable. And of course, if you're trying to solve a problem, it's going to be very relatable to an organization that's actually articulated that thing.
Yeah, I understand. And I think that's the only way to go forward. It can't be come up. It used to be years ago, you'd go to a store and buy a sealed piece of software and install it because it was done. These call it gold. We're going gold next week, and they release Microsoft Office 1.0 is going gold. And I think this flexible and adaptable thing is different. Before the interview, you talked about a tool. I don't know if it's a tool or part of this whole innovation. It's called Atlas, the asset tracking and license acquisition for software. So did that come out of your innovation lab? Is it a separate project, or so? What is Atlas anyway?
Thanks, John. So Atlas is really, it is an MVP. It was something we built in our lab, and it was a demand signal based on some current work that we're seeing and observing. And it turns out that there's a clear demand signal. So Congress has laid out an organization, they call it SAMOSA. I may be butchering the name of that. And basically, the essence of it is they want all of the agencies to do a better job of software and asset management. And really, if it boiled down to it, it's really about leveraging the economies of scale, right? So the more I know how many people need a software license across the organization as a whole can bring all of those requirements together and then go back to the vendor, and they can get a better bang for their buck by leveraging that economies of scale. And so that led to the opportunity for us to partner with ServiceNow and build out an MVP that we call Atlas that really gets after software licensing.
Right. My son works for a unnamed company, and they just brought in Salesforce, and he was talking about it and change management, and And I said, hey, Kevin, do you know what a license for that costs? And then we did some little piece of paper multiplication. His jaw dropped. He said, well, Dad, we're a kind of a small company, couple hundred people, but a big agent. I said, yes, yes. That's why you have to have some kind of tool to find out what's going on. I mean, John Gilroy could be sitting with 5 licenses. He never uses them.
Yeah.
So you're going to pay for that? Really? I mean, in COVID, here we go. I think in COVID, people run around buying this and buying that. And all of a sudden, Jim goes to his garage and he's got a bunch of stuff there from Amazon that he never uses. And it could be a recurring monthly license, huh? I mean, we know that happened, Jim. And I know it happened because I know neighbors who bought stuff. It's still sitting in the garage. And agencies must have come up with licenses also. So I think this MVP is a real smart way to prove its value within a week, I would guess.
Yeah, no, it could provide value very, very quickly. The hard part when it comes to any sort of rolling out is trying to get the insights, right? Trying to get that data. The government is a very complex ecosystem with many disparate systems all over the place, and trying to enable CIOs and CTOs and other senior leaders in the organizations to have that insight and be able to, because at the end of the day, that license and the leadership is trying to leverage the economies of scale, but at the same time, they're trying to not inhibit the tactical execution of why that software was needed in the first place. So having a timely response system, and we have all this modern technology with iPhones and other things that recruits today on the DoD side especially, their expectation is intuitive software. And their ability to be able to go, if I need something, I want to be able to have either insight and expectation management, and I want to be able to hopefully get that software in a timely manner because I'm trying to do something, and that system should not be an inhibitor to their ability to execute their mission. And that's one of the byproducts that we hope to be able to achieve with Atlas, is being able to achieve and help out in that aspect of this as much as it is on the economies of scale and the management of that software licensing.
So I got to jump and talk. When I talk to my son, I always tell him different catchphrases and everything else. I tell him that you got to remember things and go back and visit. And I say, radio is fleeting, but podcasting is forever. Hey, Dad, what happens is someone could be listening to this when it's 100 degrees outside, and they could find out about your company and learn about EdgeWorks. And so if you're listening to this and it's 95 degrees outside, what you can do is you can go to Highlight Tech. That's 2 T's there, highlighttech.com. And in the show notes, I'll have a link to this product called EdgeWorks. Will that be up here when it's released?
Yes. Yeah.
Good,
it should be up. It should be up in the around the 20th. Where they should be able to see it. So yeah.
Yeah, it'll be good. And I think it's a shift in thinking to learning requirements, coming up with a temporary solution, see if it's a good fit, come back, and then go back and forth several times until you get it right. And I don't know how else we can achieve some of the problems. I just mentioned logging, and we can down a whole long list of problems. Software bill of materials right there. We talked about it with that. That's one issue there. It's what about the security of the software? Okay, what about the license management? Really? I mean, consider managing. Just pick an agency and try to manage the license for that. How many do you have? What about the discount? Are you getting? And then all of a sudden, then it shifts to the cloud, shifts back, shifts hybrid, shifts back. It's back to the continuity and change, evolution, revolution. So you're a evolution guy, huh?
Yes, I am. Love technology, love it. I always think of technology when applied appropriately can be leveraged like a superpower. The force multiplication it allows us to do in terms of improving our own lives. There's a great book I read. You can't see it visually, but in my bookcase, there's a great book on Python, and the name of the book is "Automate the Boring Stuff." And and so technology can do a lot of that for us in automating the boring stuff, so we can do the things that we can't get technology to do. And do the high level thinking that belongs with humans.
The hard stuff. Yeah, the difficult stuff.
The hard stuff.
Great. We've had good insight here on change in the federal government, and we're running out of time, unfortunately. You have been listening to the Federal Tech Podcast with John Gilroy. I'd like to thank my guest, James Eselgroth, Director, Innovation and Technology at Highlight. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, John.
Thanks for listening to the Federal Tech Podcast. If you like the Federal Tech Podcast, please support us by giving us a rating and review on Apple Podcast.